I have never understood the Christian desire for the end time until I walked away from Christianity. And the red heifer prophecy that they call it, which is actually not a prophecy, has been something over this last year that has really invigorated the conversation concerning the end times. And many Christians back in April, during the time frame of Passover, were hot and heavy about the red heifers being flown from Texas and in an undisclosed location in Israel. But to many people, what is the red heifer? The red heifer is not a prophecy of the end times, although they connect it to the end times with the building of the third temple, because the red heifer, based on Numbers 19, is a purification ritual that the priest has to go through before the children of Israel supposedly entered into the promised land. This was something that was done before they were told that they would wander through the desert. When they first came up to the promised land, a red heifer whose blood was sprinkled 7 times towards Israel, the promised land, and then its ashes, then it was burned, and its ashes were mixed in with some other ingredients, and with some spring water, and that was used to purify the priests who were at least 15 years of age, the priests who were not born in a hospital, the priests who were not has never defiled themselves, have never been unclean, never walked on a grave, never touched a dead body. This was for the cleansing of those priests so that they could then build the temple. Now, this was done before the first temple was built, so this was so that they can interact inside the tent of meetings. Now, that was the purpose of the red heifer. What it has meant today is the building of the third temple, that in order to build the third temple, it has been confused with the prophecy of the temple being rebuilt. The sacrifice of the red heifer actually has nothing to do with the temple being rebuilt. This is purely an animal sacrifice to cleanse other priests. One of the reasons and ways that you will know that this has nothing to do with the temple being rebuilt is because the red heifer sacrifice, according to the Jewish religion, has been done 9 times. Yes, 9 times. And yet the Temple Mount has not been rebuilt 9 times. So this actually has nothing to do with the third temple being built and this happening on the Mount of Olives, overlooking where the Temple Mount would be. Now, I do find it interesting that this animal blood sacrifice is being hailed by Christians. That Christians who at any other time frame, if a person practicing a different religion were to commit to an animal sacrifice, they will be screaming holy murder, calling out for PETA, calling out for government intervention. But yet in this case, because it is in their minds to their benefit, they are screaming that this is great, this is wonderful, this is prophecy. Yet it is not prophecy. You will not find the red heifer anywhere in your New Testament, to which Christians derive their religion from. But this is supposed to be the building of the third temple. Now, interesting thing is that I don't want to say his name wrong. Maimonides said that at the 10th sacrifice, the 10th time that this blood ritual sacrifice happens, that it will be conducted by either the Messiah of the Jewish people or the King of the Jewish people. Now, I want you Christians to really contemplate that for a second, since you are hailing this as some grand and great prophecy. But at the coming of a person claiming to be the Jewish Messiah, but that person not being Jesus, or the King of the Jews, and that person not being your Jesus, returned in the way that you would say he's returned, would make that person, according to what your beliefs are, it will make that person the Antichrist. It will make that person the one that claims to be the Messiah, that does miracles and heals people, the one that takes a shot to the head and is presumed dead for a number of days and then comes back to life. that person then begins to cause people to worship him. People who do not worship them and people who do not come under this one world government and one world religion are then massacred and killed. 2/3 of the population is then killed because of this person who is supposed to come that you call the Antichrist. And if that being the case, if this person is the Antichrist and you are looking for this Antichrist to come, why would you do that? I want you to contemplate this for a second, Christians. Why? And let me preface it by saying this. The idea of the rapture is something that did not come about until the 1800s. Okay, the 1800s. No other versions of Christianity teaches the rapture other than Protestantism, and mostly only in the Americas. If you deal with Protestants in any other country, like when I lived in Europe and I dealt with Protestants weren't teaching a rapture throughout Europe. When I went throughout Africa, Protestants or no Christian was teaching the rapture in Africa. Let me clear that up. A few did, and those few were the ones that had been dealing with American churches. But none that had never dealt with American churches preached the rapture. So this is only a teaching that you have. Now, without the rapture, that means that the taking the mark of the beast, taking the mark that Christ is supposed to put on you, going through 3.5 years of torment and hell and your heads being chopped off, not being able to buy and sell food and all these sorts of things. You're going to live through that if it happens in your lifetime. So I've never understood why Christians are so desirous of the end times happening in their lifetime. When I was a Christian, I used to say, I don't want the end times to happen while I'm alive. I just want to be part of the graves that gives up their dead, the seas that gives up their dead. I don't want to go through all that torment and all that hell on earth thing that y'all are desiring to go through it. But then I have to question, why do Christians want to go through that? Why are they acting like Abraham, Hagar, and Sarah? You see, Abraham was given a promise, but he rushed it along. Sarah came and said, sleep with my slave Hagar so that we can get a son, so you can get the promise. They tried to force it. That's what you Christians sound like every time you see an event happening. You say, it's the end times, it's a sign, it's a sign, it's a sign. You sound like Abraham and Sarah and forcing the slave Hagar to sleep with Abraham in order to produce a child to move what you call God's plan along. But I came to realize what the problem is. The problem is that Christians have an insecurity. The Christians who are screaming this and believing in this and hoping for this and looking for this have an insecurity about their religion. And in order for them to alleviate that insecurity, they want to see the proof of Jesus coming down in the sky. They want to meet him up in the sky. They want to see the seas give up their dead, the graves give up their dead. They want to see the Antichrist come. They want to see the beast. They want to see 2/3 of the population dying. They want to see the waters turn to blood. They desire to see all of that because they are insecure about their own belief. That means they really don't believe it 100%, but they want that proof so that they can feel confident in what they're teaching and what they're saying and what they're believing on is real. And you just want it to be real. But the truth of the matter is you have doubt. And that doubt shines through in the worst way. It shines through in you wanting hell and destruction. It shines through in you yelling and screaming at people that you have the right religion, yet your belief is the correct one. Instead of that doubt leading you to say, let me study deeper. Let me research the archaeological history. Let me research the things, the geological history. Let me go and research information and go at it without a predetermined landing point so that I can actually learn the truth that this religion is false. And until you do that, your insecurities will prevail. So always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.